I didn't think this was real because I thought, how are you going to have this girl, 12 years old, married to a 50-year-old? Then a year and a half, 2 years later, she's married to his son. That doesn't make sense. And then a couple of years after that, she's married to a knight, not even royalty. How does that make sense?
Hello, and welcome to Story Power, a bi-monthly podcast I created because I'm an unabashed story lover. Stories have had a huge impact on my life, starting with the family movie night discussions my parents instituted when I was a child. I want to share that love with you. As cognitive scientist Roger C. Shanks says, humans are not ideally set up to understand logic. They are ideally set up to understand stories. I'm making it my mission to not only spread the love of stories, but all the valuable things they teach us about human nature and relationships. We humans are emotional creatures, and stories help us examine our emotions from a comfortable distance. They also help us walk in the shoes of the characters to help us see the world in new ways. It's my hope you gain some valuable insights from my guests. Hello, Story Power listeners. Today is episode 144, and I'm talking to Deborah Morris, who is an author. And if you want to go look up her book, which we're going to talk about, The Girl of Many Crowns, you have to look up for D.H. Morris. Because as you said before we started recording, so many Deborah Morrises out there that you wanted to differentiate yourself. So, welcome, Deborah, to the show.
Thank you so much, Lucinda. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm really happy that you're here too, because you know what? When you sent me your book to read, I was going through my Amazon, list of things that I'd saved that I was going to buy later. Your book was on my list.
Oh, wonderful.
The minute I saw the cover, I said, now that looks familiar. And I went and looked, and there it was. So I had chosen it to read some time back, but for some reason I never bought it. So thank you for sending me the book, and I loved it. And so I think you have a very fascinating story about how this book came into being. But I was also reading your bio from Podmatch, and you and I have a theater background.
Mhm.
I'm not a playwright. So I wanted to talk about the plays that you've written too, but let's start with The Girl of Many Crowns. Let's start with that story.
Okay, The Girl of Many Crowns is the true story of the first princess of France. And she, at 12 years old, was married for political advantage to the 50-year-old widower of Wessex, the King of Wessex. His name was Athelwulf. And it was, of course, a marriage of convenience. And then about a year and a half later, he dies. And her father wants to continue that alliance. So he has her marry her former stepson, who is older than her. She's now 14 and he is 24. He is not as nice as his father was.
Mm-mm.
And in fact, the only contact that Judith, the Princess of France, had with her former stepson and second husband was all negative. He was trying to steal his father's kingdom. He
Mm-hmm.
he refused to allow his father to come into his part of the kingdom when the kingdom is eventually divided. And history doesn't say a lot about him, but it does say that his portion of the kingdom was starting to fall into corruption and and there were a lot of problems, crime that were cropping up in the short period of time that he was king.
Mm-hmm.
So after 2 marriages, neither of them for love, young Judith is now a widow again and twice Queen of Wessex at age 15, 16.
Excuse me.
And her father wants to be able to arrange a third marriage for her. See her journey from being a pawn to a woman who is able to stand up for herself.
Right.
And she tells her father no. In the meantime, we have this parallel journey of a knight named Baldwin Ironarm. And he is as a young knight, comes to serve the king. The king puts him as companion to his young son, Judith's younger brother, Louis, who has a stammer. And the king's hoping that Baldwin will be a good influence,
Mm-hmm.
and Louis will become the man that Baldwin is becoming. Baldwin and Louis become great friends, and we see their adventures and what is happening in Francia, the early France,
Mm-hmm.
all the turmoil and the Viking attacks. We see plots of assassination plots. We see war fomenting. We see all kinds of rumors flying and scandals. There's a lot going on
Mm-hmm.
in the kingdom during that time. And this is a very turbulent time. These 7 years that the book covers really could have changed everything in our world as far as what modern Europe looks like if it had
Mm-hmm.
differently.
Yes, really. Yeah.
They could have all been speaking German.
Really? Oh, that's right. Yes. Because family members were part of the schemes to
Exactly.
take over Francia.
Yes.
Uh eh, was it King Charles'
Louis the
brother?
German. Yes, it was his half brother.
Oh, his half brother. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And also his nephew, actually the other half brother passed away right before this book starts, and
Oh, right.
his portion of the kingdom has been taken over by his King Charles's nephew, which is,
Right.
I mean, we've got this one's Lothar the second, but we have so many Louis and so many Charleses,
I know
and the
it's so
names are a
confusing.
little difficult at first,
Yes.
but eventually you get them. I couldn't change their names
That's
because
right.
these are
Yeah.
real people. I would have if I could have, because they confused me at first too, keeping all the Louis separate, all the Charleses separate. But when Judith returns to Francia and tells her father, I'm not marrying again,
Yeah.
I don't want to marry again, he says, you will either marry again at my command or you will be imprisoned until you do. And she says, that's fine. And he imprisons her in one of his palaces. In the meantime, her brothers come to visit her. Of course, the Louis, the stammerer, whose companion is Baldwin, also come. And they reunite or reignite their friendship, which blossoms into mutual respect and love.
Yes.
And then at an opportune moment when the king and queen have decided not to spend Christmas there, and on a Christmas visit, the couple, along with her brothers, um, arrange an escape for her and an elopement.
Yes.
And
Now
it's
I
all true. That's what's so weird because it seems so incredible.
Now, I wanted to say that I thought it was interesting that you wrote this book because you have a familial connection. You were doing genealogical research and found out that you are descended from Judith and Baldwin,
That's right.
and farther back, Charlemagne. Uh, yeah, was Charlemagne her grandfather or Judith's great grandfather?
Her great grandfather.
Oh, her great
Her
grandfather.
her so her father is Charles, the
Mm-hmm.
first, basically probably called Charles II because of he's named after Charlemagne.
Charlemagne. Oh,
But Charlemagne, then his son Louis the Pious, inherited everything, and he was a very pious man. I am currently writing the prequel to this
good.
story, and it involves the grandmother Judith, that Judith is named for,
Yes, right.
Charles's mother. And in that story, we'll find out that why everything is in turmoil when the book starts.
Right.
That Judith's grandmother, Judith, she was in her early 20s when Louis the Pious lost his wife of 25 years. And when she died, he was very sad and he was very pious. And they really believed, his counselors believed, that he was going to just go join an abbey and abdicate. And they didn't want that. They could sense there would be some tension,
Mm.
some struggles over the kingdom. So they said, let us at least have a bride show. Now, it wasn't something they'd done before,
Right.
but the Byzantines had done it a couple of times in Constantinople to find mates for their emperors.
Mm-hmm.
And they also mainly took the pattern from the Book of Esther,
Oh,
where
right.
Esther is. They were very religious people, and they believed very strongly in following the pattern set by the biblical people.
Right.
And so they have a bride show. They ask all the nobles in the empire to bring their eligible daughters in, and kind of a beauty pageant, if you will.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it is the forerunner of our modern beauty pageant, or a Cinderella story.
Yeah, right. I was going to say that. Sounds like a Cinderella story.
And so Judith is chosen as his empress from this group of girls, and for her beauty, her intellect, and her musical ability.
Oh,
And so that's fine. Everything kind of goes along okay until she is with child. And then tensions start to rise because Louis the Pious has already set up an agreement with his current sons who's going to inherit what.
right.
And if there's another one coming, then they're all, either someone or all of them are going to lose something.
Right.
So she has a daughter, but they know she can have children.
Right.
So tensions die down a bit. The next child is Charles, the father of Judith in the book, that
Oh,
is the girl of many crowns. And that sparks a civil war.
oh
They
dear.
arrest their father, they lock him up, they arrest Judith, they throw all kinds of wild accusations at her. She has to undergo trial by ordeal, everything to try to save her child and some inheritance for him.
Yeah.
And so that then she's successful. She's a strong woman, but she probably died when she was, a lot of these dates aren't exactly certain. She was in her early 40s, maybe, when she
Mm-hmm.
passed. It's I think it's a very courageous and worthwhile story to tell.
Yes. I was hoping that you were going to write another book about either a sequel because I thought it was interesting or a prequel. Because I thought it was interesting that Baldwin and Judith end up in Bruges. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep, yep, Bruges.
And and
And they
that's one of
rebuild it. And Bruges is one of my favorite places in Europe. It's just
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. And I make all these silly connections, but one of our favorite movies is The Monuments Men, and Bruges is one of the places where they try to
Really?
save the artwork. Yeah, so I wanted to know more, hopefully more about the rebuilding of Bruges and but yeah, I love that you're going to tell the story, the prequel story, because yes, it seems like the Middle Ages, I always thought of them as everybody's huddled in their homes and it's dark and but no, from these other books by Jean Gill and Octavia Randolph, uh, there was vibrant trade. In your book, there's vibrant trade. There are alliances across um, territories.
And
Uh,
continents.
yes, right. And continents, right. Yeah. And I also thought it was really interesting, which none of the other books seemed that I read so far seemed to emphasize that the church leaders had a lot of influence.
Huge influence.
Yeah.
Huge. And it really explains why our founding fathers felt it was so important to have a separation of church and state.
Hmm.
Because when you mingle them and you have one religion that is supported and pretty much owned by the state, that religion also owns the state. And it's a very symbiotic relationship, but they increase each other's power and then nothing can break through.
Right.
It's really interesting.
It is.
I found it, that was one of the my aha things as I was doing the research,
Oh, yeah.
how how interesting, how powerful they were.
Yes, really. Well, and another thing that I thought was interesting was during it's what, 7 years, there are like three or four popes.
Yes, absolutely. They were just, I was like, not another one. Because as I was doing the research, ah, he only lasted a few months.
Yeah, right. Now, I'm assuming that, I mean, I don't know. Some of them might have been assassinated, but I'm assuming that they died of like disease or something or old age.
Um, I don't want you to hold me to this because some of my research with the prequel is in my head a
Mixing.
little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
And at least one of them, yeah, most of them I think died of illness. That's the problem with the Middle Ages. We did
Yes.
not have any antibiotics until the 1940s.
Right.
So if you got a bad infection, whether it's in your toenail, it doesn't matter. It could go to blood poisoning very
Yes.
easily. And
Yes.
so yeah, if you, as long as your health was good, you were good. But if you got sick, things become very dicey quickly. But
Yes.
at least one of the ones, I think it's going to be a little earlier. One of the popes was torn to pieces, and they kind of had a anti-pope set up, and they were kind of rivaling each other, and it
Yeah. So
was not
there
very.
were all the power struggles weren't just among the territories, but they were in the church leaders as well.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because at this point too, we have a pope in
Oh,
Constantinople
that's
and the
right.
one in Rome.
Rome.
And shortly after this, they get really upset at each other. And Pope Nicholas, who lasted for quite a while actually, and he's the last one in my book, The Girl of Many Crowns, that we cover. And he gets upset. He was the one who really, he was called Pope Nicholas the Great, because he was the one who consolidated the power in Rome. And he goes ahead and he doesn't like what Constantinople is doing, so he excommunicates the Pope at Constantinople, who turns around and excommunicates him. And they said, well, I can do that too.
Is that, and that's how the Eastern Orthodox
It
Church?
became so separate.
Yeah. Okay.
They're very separate because of that schism that took
Right.
place.
Yeah.
And it was around this time that it took place.
Yes. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting about the book was when Louis signs off on the marriage, because Judith and Baldwin have to have a royal acclamation or something, proclamation that they are married. So Louis the one that does that, and then they try to escape and go to, finally they end up in Rome with Pope Nicholas.
Yeah.
And he was so, I wasn't sure he was gonna back them, but he does.
Yep.
He backs
He does.
them, which I thought that was so interesting.
And not only backs them once, but when he gets a no, he goes back again and tries even harder the second,
Mm-hmm.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
And he was the one who was instrumental, along with the support of Judith's mother. She had a lot of influence on her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And when she said, no, you need to let them, that was kind of the last straw.
Yes.
And Charles can't resist anymore. He's got the Pope, he's got his wife.
Right. Yeah, even though his religious advisor doesn't really want it to happen. I've forgotten his name. But
Hinkmar. Hinkmar.
Ingmar. Oh, that's right.
He's a very fascinating character.
Yeah. I think he wrote a lot of books
Did.
and
And
other things.
treatises,
Yes.
and he was the main influence, the main reason why the Catholic Church, his treatise on divorce called Divortio, was really the main influence why the Catholic Church absolutely said no divorce, no matter what.
Which was so sad for, was it her cousin, Judith's cousin, that helped them,
Yes,
was his
Lothar.
name? Lothar. Yes, because he was forced into a marriage that he didn't want. Oh, yeah, and
No, and
it
for
kept,
14 years, he did everything he possibly could to marry the woman he loved. It's just, it was sad.
yes.
I
Well, it
don't
was so,
always agree with everything he did,
right.
especially against his current queen, but I
Yeah,
see
because
where,
it was sad for her too. It was,
yeah, it was just sad all the way around. But that policy continues even today. Yeah. And in the British royalty, that continued at least till King Charles, when he was forced to marry Diana
Diana,
Spencer, because he was actually in love with
Camilla.
Camilla, who he eventually married.
Yeah. Yeah, but for some reason, she wasn't good enough. And
Yep.
yeah. So that kind of thing is still going on.
And in fact, the Princess of Japan, I think was in 2020, fled to America rather than marry the person they wanted her to marry. She was in love with a commoner. They
Oh,
fled to America. He finally passed the bar, I think, in New York, and they're married. They're commoners and they want to be there. And I
that's,
can see why you would want to be a commoner in many
yeah.
ways.
Oh, really? Well, Harry and Meghan, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, because I can't imagine having every single moment of your day
Planned.
dictated for you, uh
No
and then
privacy.
right, no privacy, right. Oh yeah. I mean, you don't get to steer your own ship.
Mm-mm.
It's horrible. I can't imagine it, and I wouldn't want it. for my life.
When I first saw this on my genealogy chart, my aunt kind of expected my husband and I to be the next genealogists in
Uh-huh.
our generation. I didn't think this was real because I thought, how are you going to have this girl 12 years old married to a 50-year-old? Then a year and a half, 2 years later, she's married to his son. That doesn't make sense. And then a couple of years after that, she's married to a knight, not even royalty. How does that make sense? 3 years, actually, 3 marriages in like 6 years.
Yes.
And actually four, because she married Baldwin twice, because her father wouldn't accept their
First.
first marriage, so he had to, but he wouldn't attend the second marriage. He
Oh, yeah.
insisted on it, but he refused to come,
Yeah.
which I found very interesting. But I found that's how I found this story. And I thought, I've got to prove this wrong. There's something wrong on my genealogy. One of these can't be right. So I started digging, and the more I would dig, the more fascinated I became by the story. And I thought, how did this young preteen and then teenage girl make it through all this?
I know, really.
It was
Well,
fascinating
was in those days, it seemed like 12 was like the age of majority. So
for a girl.
she was an adult then?
Well, it's almost like the bat mitzvah and bar mitzvah. So when she turned 12, that was the minimum that you could be under Frankish law for a girl to be married. And for boys, it was 15.
Oh,
They had to be a little older.
yeah. Yeah, now that was another interesting aspect. Her marriage to Baldwin encouraged her, both Charles and Louis, to marry the women they loved.
Exactly. That
Uh,
was so funny because it all happened simultaneously. In fact, I've been thinking about that. And because they were on the run and
yeah,
weren't able to get married till they got some some sanctuary from Lothar, her brothers probably were married immediately. So they probably ended up married before she did.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. Because travel wasn't that easy.
No, no. And in the winter
Oh, yeah.
and trying to hide.
Oh, really? Now, I loved the fictional characters of the scribe and what was his name? Fritz? Was it that his name?
Felix,
Oh, Felix, that's what it was. Felix, and I've forgotten her maid's name,
Emma, Emma,
Emma. And Emma was of a fairly well-to-do family before was all of her family killed?
at least a middle class. Now, she is fictional, but she's based on actual accounts, like
Yes.
the raid on the abbey, etc. That actually happened, and so
Oh.
I tried to describe it as best I could through
Uh-huh.
her eyes, and the Viking raids all up and down the coast, the I guess shoreline of the river Seine at that time. Now, um, also the reason why I needed to introduce her as a character
Mm-hmm.
is because the historical accounts say that she escaped from the palace dressed as a servant.
Serving girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the question is, how could she have done that if she always has women around her unless they supported that decision?
Right.
And
Exactly.
why would they support that unless they'd seen everything she'd gone through and
Right.
been there for her? So
Yeah.
that was the origin of Hema.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. I see. That's true. Because Hemma goes with her to Wessex.
Yeah,
And yeah, the uh the Vikings had raided the continent or the island, whatever. And they had the northern part. How do you say his name? The first
Ethelwolf,
one? Athelwolf.
Athelwolf.
I
Yeah.
cannot say that. When I'm looking at the Saxon names, it's like, how do you pronounce that?
No, I guess
Athel.
some people can say it Athelwolf.
Oh,
I or Athelwolf.
uh-huh,
Either
uh-huh.
way, but the wolf is a wolf, and
Right.
it means noble wolf. His name.
That's what it means. Well, he was noble. And also I like I'll go back. He had already kind of barred or negotiated with the Vikings, and they got the northern part of the island, and then Wessex and Mercia were under other. The Vikings didn't have, but they still were raiding,
Yeah.
and so he had already negotiated. I
Well,
think,
that is kind of a couple of years after the book that they get that much of Britannia.
yeah,
So it's still they do get that. It's just probably in between uh well about the time that when Alfred becomes king, which nobody expected because he had so many older brothers.
yeah,
That was amazing. Um, but he actually became king when he was very young. He was only like 19.
yeah. So his older brothers, well, his oldest brother dies in a hunting accident. I don't know how his other two brothers died, but they were young too, and none of them had children. So,
If they did have children, Athelwolf had set it up that each of the sons
oh,
would have
that's right.
first inheritance, which was totally unusual for the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Totally.
really. Oh,
And her second husband, Athelbald, didn't like that, but
right.
he didn't like it much of anything,
No.
actually.
But I also like that she had a friendship with Alfred, and then you
Mm-hmm.
indicate at the end of the book that Baldwin and Judith um, trade with
Mm-hmm.
Wessex, and so that was really, and their
And
daughter married
their
his,
son
oh, their
marries
son
his daughter.
his daughter. Oh yeah, that's right.
And
Yep.
that's was our connection. So that's why I'm related both Alfred and Baldwin and Judith from that union,
Oh,
then is from my descent.
oh wow. Oh, that's so interesting.
So I actually had a lot of ancestors that appeared in here, including there's a one who is kind of, I don't know, he's a gray area character.
Uh-huh.
His name is Robert the Strong, and
Oh, right.
he's he's a very powerful knight and he's fairly young, but he does take part in some plots against Charles, but then later reconciles to Charles
Oh,
and
that's right.
becomes loyal after that.
Right.
But and so he's interesting character, but he also is one of my ancestors, and I also have some Vikings as ancestors too. So once you kind of get back there, you'll find all these connections.
Yes,
You may
yes,
have them too. You just have to get back there.
yes. Well, I am not the genealogist of my generation. My brother is. I started to do it, and we did find out that our on both my father's parents uh and my let's see, my father's mom and dad both had ancestors that came to this continent in the 1600s. We did find that
Mm-hmm.
out. But my brother's still working on going back and back and back because the sage name, it was three brothers and they were bakers in the royal palace, and somehow,
Wow.
yeah, this is back in 16 or 1500s, and they became rebellious, and so they had to flee to Wales, and then that's how they came and that's how they came to our continent. Um,
That
so
sounds like a book. You need to write that into a book.
yeah, well, when my brother finishes the genealogy. But I mean, we're related to one of our ancestors is Ulysses S. Grant. That might
Wow.
be on my mom's side. And we also have on my mom's side, um, I think it's on her side. I think his name was John Lathrop. He was a really famous
Yes.
preacher in the early colonial days.
Yes.
So it's like, whoa, that genealogy is so interesting. And I love watching Henry Louis Gates Jr. His show Finding Your Roots, and then there's
Oh,
another one, what who do you think you are?
oh, that's so fun, isn't it?
It is, and I was remembering on Who Do You Think You Are, there was another descendant of Charlemagne, and I was trying to think
Hmm.
who it was, and
I remember seeing that episode, but I can't remember
I remembered it
who it
earlier
was.
this morning who it was. I think it was Cindy Crawford.
Oh,
I think it was Cindy Crawford, but I
could
might
be.
be wrong. But I was like, and she was blown away. She was like, "What? I'm a descendant of Charlemagne? What?"
But when you think about it, they have to have 10 million descendants. They just don't know it.
My gosh, yes. Oh yeah, right, yes.
It's
So
just fascinating. And
it is.
this is what I would love to encourage people to do, even if it's a close, you know, ancestor, maybe your grandparents. There are stories out there that
Mm,
are even more inspirational and they're true
hmm
than fictional ones that are made up.
hmm
And then you
Well,
can be in your own family,
I
an immigrant
know.
ancestor or
That's
something.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I did write a fictional story about I'm a Oregon Trail descendant on all sides of my family.
Fun.
So I did write a two timeline story, a novel. Well, actually, I just finished the manuscript for the second. It's off. Beta readers are reading it now.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a sequel to the first. Of a woman who goes from Vermont to Southern Oregon in 1859, which is when Oregon became a state. So it was Oregon and California. Then there's this big territory in between, and then all the states on in the Midwest and right before the Civil War. So yeah, I had her go on the Oregon Trail, and I found out so much about oh, the trials and tribulations and where they went to get resupplied and the dangers of crossing rivers and the mountains and all that. So that was really fascinating. That was
And did they
fascinating.
leave from Independence?
Yes, she traveled from Vermont, and I had to find out about that. She traveled from Vermont by train to someplace, and then she took a riverboat down the Mississippi to St. Louis or someplace like that.
Yep, that
And
would
then
be St.
she,
Louis.
yeah, and then she went to Independence. Yeah,
Yeah,
to
which
to
is
live.
good, a good chunk of territory.
Yeah, and that took her a while.
Yeah.
And she was going to go with her father, but because they had been invited by one of his students, he was a Unitarian minister and was a theologian and had written lots of books, but he was also a teacher. And one of his students gone to Oregon and was a minister in what is now Jacksonville. It was
Hmm.
called Table Rock City in the beginning, in Southern Oregon, and there was a gold rush on, and so it was the biggest city in the state for a while. And he wanted her to come. This was before it got really super big. Her and her father to come to Oregon so she could be a teacher. Well, her father died before they could make the trip together. And so her aunt, her mom's sister, was married to somebody quite wealthy in Boston, and she wanted to take control of Morgan's life and bring her to Boston and have her marry some rich guy. And so, no, she wasn't having any of that. So her friends helped her escape her aunt.
Very
And
similar to Judith.
yeah, and she meets up with this woman who is a now she and her father did some underground railroad stuff. Morgan wasn't super involved in that, but she met this woman who was helping to transport some slaves, escaped slaves, to a safe location, and she'd been found out, and the guys from the South were chasing her and the slaves, and um, so they team up to escape their respective people who are following them, and she ends up in Chicago. And then in the second book, Morgan and Amelia and her daughter are all involved in the suffrage movement.
Wow.
And when I was researching the second book, I discovered that uh, Susan B. Anthony went to Oregon. And so I was like, oh, good, I get to include that in my book.
You have to. You have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
They're
So
wonderful stories. And truth sometimes seems stranger than fiction.
I know, really.
Can't
Yeah.
make this stuff up, but it's wonderful when you discover it.
Yes, it is. It is wonderful. So, I so we've talked so much about your book and your prequel. I can't wait till that one comes out. That's going to be interesting because I'm still fascinated with the whole Middle Ages. I've read, more than one series about the Middle Ages ever since I discovered that women had a lot more important role in the society than we, at least I, ever thought of. Because if you like Judith's mother probably had to do the same things that the women in the Circle of Caradwin, you know, they were in charge of the weaving, the manufacturing of fabric, and the um the farming. They had to prepare foods for the winter. All this stuff that because the woman who's the head of the estate, she's overseeing and helping and making clothes for all the people who live and work with them, and the food stocks for all of them, and it was like, wow, they have a lot of more power than
There are a
uh,
lot of misconceptions, I think, that have been, you know, projected by Hollywood and things
mhm,
about the Middle Ages. It wasn't, just flat the same for the 400 or 500 years that they
right,
did. This period of time between Charlemagne and a couple of generations after the book I've written, it's called the Carolingian Renaissance. So it was not Dark Ages. It was a time of beautiful palaces
right,
and exquisite art and things like that. And Charlemagne's main goal, one of his main goals in life, was to um, support education.
right,
He wanted everybody in his entire empire to be educated. Well, that wasn't possible then without the modern conveniences we
right.
have. And even in our day, not everybody in our country we can say is well educated, but he made a start.
That was a
And
that was a great goal.
yes, and his grandson Charles, who was named for Charlemagne, and really revered and worshipped his grandfather, he took that on too as his goal.
Hmm.
And everything kept getting in the way. All these
Oh,
wars, all these
yes.
Viking attacks,
Oh,
it
yeah.
it just it was hard, but they didn't they didn't discriminate against women or young women being educated. In fact,
Right.
they were encouraging them to be intelligent and to learn languages
Mhm.
and, improve their minds. It's it's uh it's an interesting period of time. There is a period of time, yeah, it kind of goes in cycles, I think,
Mhm.
in history where things get a little dark, and then whoever's in charge decides, well, women should be, servants more than anything.
Mhm.
But this wasn't that time. Yes,
Right.
women didn't have the rights over their property,
Mhm.
um, over who they married in the same way that they do now. But a lot of that was also royalty, just the nature of
Mhm.
being royal. You are supposed to live to promote the good of the kingdom, whatever the
Right.
king decides that is.
Right.
Whether
Right.
you're 4 years old and the king says, well, I think I need an abbot in this abbey that
Mhm.
will be on my side eventually and will raise money and raise troops whenever I need it. So I'm putting my 4-year-old son in that abbey, and he's going to be raised to become the abbot. Same with the daughters. If
Mhm.
they weren't going to be married by the time they were 5, a lot of times they were just shuffled off to the church.
Mhm. Yeah. Right. Well, and this was pre-plagues.
Yeah, pre-plagues. They did have, you know, probably flu and things like that, where they would say a lot of people died this year, the records would say, because
Mhm.
of the rains or because of it was so hot and things like that. So there were diseases going around, but not like the Black Plague.
Right. Yeah. Which that was scary. The
And even King Charles almost dies at some point. He gets so
Oh,
sick
that's
and
right.
and he can't hardly breathe. And they what do they have for medicine? They bleed you, or
Mhm.
they or they give you some herbs, but that's about it. They don't
Mhm.
have anything else.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. We're so lucky.
We are,
Yeah.
in a lot
Now,
of ways.
before we go though, I want to find out something about the plays that you've published.
Now, I've only published one, and that
Uh-huh.
was actually I did it in conjunction with a composer, Anne Cap
Oh.
Anderson, and we did a musical version of Pride and Prejudice. It was performed in a couple of universities, University of Idaho, and Brigham Young University, and also in a couple of um, summer stock things. But um, that's all we've done with it so far.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I wrote all the dialogue, the book, the and the
Right.
lyrics,
Mhm. Mhm.
and she composed the music to it. That is a different, very different from Pride and Prejudice, the movie that
Mhm.
Hollywood did. I know a lot of people love that movie. I was a little disappointed in the movie because
Mhm.
I grew up reading the book, Pride and
Mhm.
Prejudice, and it was one of
Mhm.
my favorite. But when I read it, I see it and I understand that it was intended to be quite a social satire.
Mhm.
The elites,
Mhm.
she makes fun of them. She has a great sense of humor. I love Jane Austen. She's very intelligent.
Mhm.
And when you read her book, you can see her view of society coming through quite brilliantly. And that movie took all of that out and just left
Mhm.
kind of a shell of a romance, which was okay, but it didn't have the depth. And the passion I felt like the book did.
Right.
And so our attempt was to bring that to life, the
Right.
actual book. And we took as much from the book as we possibly
Yes.
could.
Yes.
Whereas Hollywood tends to feel like, okay, we'll take the general idea and then we'll just go off and make something fun with it.
My
I
favorite
like to
version
stick
is
to things.
my favorite version is the 1996 miniseries. I think the BBC did with
Hmm.
Colin Firth and or Jennifer Ely. And yeah,
They did a great job.
That's my favorite version because it is almost all just taken from the book, and in the end, when they finally get together, Darcy and Elizabeth, it's so satisfying because you've seen the step by step process
Yes.
of them falling in love. Well, at least on Elizabeth's side, it takes her a while to fall in love
Yes.
with him.
Got to
But
get
also,
over her pride and prejudice.
right, yes, right. And also, yeah, because I love the way Jane Austen makes fun of his aunt. Oh, what is her name? Miss
Oh,
Lady de
Lady
Bourgh.
Catherine de Bourgh. Yeah.
Catherine de Bourgh. Yes, she makes so much fun of her. I just love that. And yeah, I agree with you. I did not enjoy the movie at all. Um, I
It
love
didn't have
those.
much depth.
I know. I love those actors, but
Yep.
yes, you're right. It fell flat for me. So, and I have several versions of Emma. I have
I
more than
love
one
Emma.
version,
Yes.
more than one version of Persuasion.
Yes.
I own. So yeah, those are all fun. They're all, but the ones that I chose are the ones that have more of that biting wit and
Yes.
kind of pointing out the foibles of the wealthy. And
Yes.
yeah, I really love those. Yeah, so I'm a
And
Jane.
some of Jane Austen's dialogue in her book, you just can't beat it.
I
Why
know.
why are you eliminating it?
I know. I know,
So
really.
wonderful.
Yeah. So,
Talk
oh,
about
that's
it.
fun. Well, I hope it gets uh performed again because that's really
Yes.
yeah.
Well, we probably have to work on marketing it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
How fun.
I don't know. It was fun to do. It was fun to see it performed, and we
Yes.
thoroughly enjoyed the whole experience.
Yeah. Well, oh man, this has been such a fun conversation, and I'm looking forward to your prequel book and then maybe sequel books too, because I'm kind of into those series. I like to read series
Yes.
that where the characters keep developing and keep developing. So I at some point I'm gonna have to go to Bruges because I've never
Oh,
been
you'll love it. And you'll
there.
see the Bear of Bruges everywhere in statue.
Oh
And
yeah.
and there's Bear of Bruges beer and there's Bear of Bruges chocolate.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fairy tale, but that's what they believe. That whole incident with the bear was from
Right.
their
With Baldwin and the bear.
yes, exactly. Saving his lady fair
That's
from the
right.
bear.
That's cool. Oh, how fun. Well, thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been delightful to meet you, to just visit. It's been fun.
Yes, it has been fun, and I'm looking forward to the other books that you're going to write.
Thank you.
I hope you not only enjoyed this episode but gained something valuable to take away with you. If you like what you heard, please share it with your friends and give us a rating and/or review. If you're a story lover too, I invite you to join my Patreon community at patreon.com/storypower, all one word. Or you might be interested in classic cinema with the Sage Sisters, a YouTube channel and Facebook page I started with my sister Celeste, where we choose one classic movie that we think still has lessons for us today. As you can see, I'm passionate about spreading the love of stories and completely believe what Philip Pullman said. After nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the thing we need most in the world. Until next time, this is Lucinda Sage-Midgorden. Thanks for listening.